This video will be about Qor's High Chroma palette. We'll be unboxing, swatching, creating a color chart, and painting a full illustration. I'll give you my first impressions and a couple tips on how to use it. So I'm really excited to unbox these and try them out. I've never used any Qor watercolors before. And for those of you that don't know, Qor is owned by Golden, who is better known for their acrylic paints. And they make wonderful acrylic paints, so I'm really excited to try out this watercolor set. Golden released the Qor watercolor line back in 2014, so this isn't a particularly new set of watercolors. In fact, it's about 10 years old. But because of the small 5ml tube size, I thought that this would be a perfect way to try the Qor watercolors finally and see if they are something that I want to add into my palettes. This set in particular is the High Chroma set, so it's going to be very saturated, untraditional colors. I do think that it's nice that this set comes with a full color chart of all the colors they have to offer, which I think is 83 colors as of right now. Here are those fun-sized tubes. I'm just going to go through the colors one at a time, starting off with Cobalt Teal. Notice that it's a Series 4 color, and there's a little bit of information on the tubes. Each tube shows us the color name, the pigment number, what series it is, a light fastness rating, and also what type of binder. Next up we have Green Gold, and this one's a Series 3. I believe that most of the colors in this set are a Series 3. We have Quin Gold, Quin Magenta, Transparent Pyrrole Orange, and last but not least, Dioxin Purple. So for my swatch sheet, I'm just using 140-pound hot press paper, measured everything off with my pencil, and labeled it with my micron. Microns are great because they're waterproof, so if I accidentally get some water over top, I'm not worried about that ink smearing. I didn't even mention the lid of this palette, which is arguably one of the cooler palettes that I've seen. The mixing well area is just a bunch of different sized circular wells, and yeah, I just was willy-nilly putting the colors in there, and I should have been more organized. It got a little bit chaotic, so I think in the future I'd probably use the larger area, just take out the cardboard, put my paint in there, and then maybe use the wells for mixing only. Or if you have another palette, you could definitely put these colors out onto that palette. I have heard some things about these Qor watercolors not re-wetting well, but I'm going to test that out and let you guys know what I think. First up is Cobalt Teal. This is probably my favorite color from the selection. I don't have this color in any of my other sets, and wow, it's just really beautiful. My first impression with the paint in general is that it went on really smoothly. I was able to work the color around, even it out pretty easily. You can tell that this is a granulating color right away, and it's a semi-opaque color as well. Next up we have Green Gold. Green Gold in general is one of my favorite colors. I'm not really a green person, but I don't know what it is about this color. It just is always beautiful, and it reminds me of moss. So anyway, this color goes by a couple different names from different manufacturers, but it's also known as Azo Green. And that leads me to the next color, which is Quin Gold. So the quinacridone gold is the only color in this selection that has two different pigment types to make up the color. The reason that people prefer single pigment colors is just that they mix a little bit more reliably. If you're not careful, you can get mud when using colors that have more than one pigment, but I think we should be just fine using these colors. Next up is Quin Magenta. I'm glad that there are two quinacridone colors in this palette. Typically, Quin colors are very vibrant. They range from orange to violet, most notably known for their pinkish reds. It is claimed that they have a glowing effect due to the transparency and the high staining pigments. This is transparent pyrrole orange, which is of course a transparent color. And when I first swatched this, I was really surprised. It had kind of a similar look to the Quin Gold. I was expecting for it to be a little bit more orange, but as it dried, I noticed it actually took on a little bit more of an orange color compared to the Quin Gold, so that's good. Last but not least, we have the dioxine purple, and this is going to be a deeper violet, and although it is a dark, powerful color, it is transparent. And I actually used this purple for the first time in my landscape palette, which I showed off in one of my other videos. So I was surprised to see it in this high chroma set, but also not surprised because it is a very powerful color. So now I'm just going to go through, add some more details to my swatch chart, including the pigment number. That little box indicates if it's transparent or opaque, and the circle indicates if it is a staining color or not. And although I love the circular swatch, I still wanted to have an idea of the range of the colors, so I did end up going through and adding a little bit of a gradient bar at the top and below each of the swatches. The flow of the pigment into the water was very smooth. As expected, it is a professional quality paint. It's definitely very pigmented, so you're able to get a very full range of the dark saturation to the lighter tones. And here's a close-up glamour shot, just so that you can see all of the information and the colors in great detail. So normally I would just start off in my sketchbook and do a painting with the new palette. That's normally how I like to do it, just jump in and figure out how the colors mix. But I don't have any experience working with a very limited palette such as this one with non-traditional colors. I'm assuming with the colors that we are given, we will be able to mix something that's close to the primaries. So anyway, I decided to do one of these style swatch charts, and essentially how it works is you'll just be able to mix each color together. You'll start off by basically painting each of the solid swatches right down the diagonal center of the chart. If there's 6 colors, the chart will be 6 by 6. The top half of the chart is going to be a really saturated version of each of the colors mixed, and the lower quadrant will be a diluted version with a lot of water. That way we'll be able to see a full range of the colors, how they mix together, how they look muted, how they look saturated, and overall I think that the colors are really beautiful. All of these colors so far are very pigmented and transparent. They have wonderful clarity, and I've never used a paint with a binder called Aquaboard. I'm wondering if that's just a Qor specific watercolor binder, but it seems to be working just fine. And if you're interested in doing a swatch chart like this in your own sketchbook, it doesn't have to be so perfect. Normally, I would not go through the hassle of taping all the lines and stuff. I just did that for you guys because I wanted it to look beautiful for anybody that takes their time to watch the video. I did want to mention how impressed I was with the cobalt teal in both the muted and also fully saturated range. There's some beautiful two-tone colors happening, especially the cobalt teal and Quin magenta mixed together. Before we move on to the actual painting, I do just want to point out how to mix your primaries for this palette. So you'll actually mix your Quin magenta and your transparent pyrrole orange for red, your Quin gold and your green gold for your yellow, your cobalt teal and your dioxazine purple for your blue. And you'll also find the secondary colors in between that with the green and orange. However, your purple will just be the purple that's provided in the palette. The color swatch chart really inspired me to paint something vivid and very saturated. So first I wanted to do some color studies, make sure I was going the right direction because there are so many options with this palette. I thought that a cyberpunk girl would be perfect for this. That way I'll be able to mix the more muted colors for the portraiture and the more saturated colors for her hair and clothes and background and everything. This is just in my watercolor journal. I did end up putting them in a separate palette just because the palette that was provided by Qor was kind of a chaos mess after my swatch chart. So overall, we ended up going with the first color study, which is a pink teal. And I used Aquaboard for this painting. And if you're interested in learning about Aquaboard, definitely let me know down in the comments. I can make a separate video about it. It's a panel by Ampersand. And I really wanted to use Aquaboard for this because I knew that I was going to be layering up my paints. In addition to the Ampersand panel and Qor High Chroma colors, I used Neptune watercolor brushes, a water mister, mixing wells, acrylic ink, and my own palette. I found it helpful to have a mixing well off to the side for large batch colors such as the skin tone. So as I was working with this, I was basically thinking about the muted colors in the swatch chart first. You want to work light to dark. So I began with the colors on her face. I knew I was going to use all 6 colors throughout the painting to give it good harmony. Mixing earthy colors takes a little bit of mixing skill and knowledge to figure out how you want those colors to be hued or tinted. Essentially, I knew that there was going to be a lot of cobalt teal in this, so I wanted my skin to be more orange-based, and then I went with cooler shadows, which really put the purple to the test. For the really saturated, highlighted areas, I painted those on very thin, and for the shadows, I piled up the dioxazine purple. It's literally thick, like a paint. And that's one of the pros of using a paint right out of the tube. You can paint it on really thick. Now this purple has beautiful range. It can be extremely dark. It looks black. Or you can use just a little bit of water and you'll get a really wide range. So I was able to use that to my benefit. A lot of the shadows are purple based, as they will be because it's the darkest color in the palette. Overall, these colors mixed really beautifully. I loved the first pass on the background. I didn't even want to mess with it, but I did end up going back through and making it a little darker. The colors glazed on top of each other beautifully, which is a sign that they are a very professional grade paint. They don't lift up the color underneath, they don't mix and become muddy, so beautiful clarity. I'm trying to find something that I don't like about the palette so that I can be an effective reviewer, but honestly I really enjoyed it. I think I'll definitely be using this one again. As far as rehydrating the paints in the palette, I had no problem with that. I just used my water mister and let them sit for a minute or two and then began painting. The color picked up just fine and mixed regularly. So no problems with the Aquazol binder. And yeah, I did end up going through and using a little bit of acrylic white ink at the end. I like to do that just to reestablish my highlights, and you'll see me mixing that acrylic ink with a little bit of each of the paints, so they are very compatible with other water-based medias, which is wonderful if you're a mixed media artist. I find that going back through with that white, I was able to glaze over top of colors and the white remained pretty strong, or I can mix it and really layer up to create more depth and dimension. So overall, I do recommend trying out these watercolors. What's so wonderful about this set is that they're very small tubes and they're all high number series. So you get really good quality paints and you're able to try a bunch of different colors without having to commit to a full tube size. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful week.